Hi, I'm Simon. Thanks for tuning into The Ordinary Filmmaker. Subscribe to receive notification of my latest videos so you don't miss any news, rumors, gear reviews, or tutorials. And to make things just a little bit more interesting, I'm giving away a brand new Canon EOS R5 full-frame mirrorless camera to one lucky viewer. Details are in the description down below, or you can watch this video here, but please look at the terms and conditions as there are some age and location restrictions. And now let's do a recap of this week's news. A lot has happened this week, the last week of February. The first thing we had was the FX3. Sony announced the FX3, which is essentially a cinema version of the A7S III. A lot of people weren't too happy with this, thinking like, what's the point? Where's the ND filters? Here's my spin on the FX3. The way I see this is the FX3 is a cinema camera. It's built tougher. It's able to handle a lot more heat, so you can record for hours on end with this unit. It's got a very thick body. But I think what Sony's planning on doing here is I think this might be the last A7S III. It might be the end of the A7S line. I think what Sony's doing is positioning the FX3 or the FX line in general to replace. So we won't see an A7S IV. I think what we'll do is we'll see an FX3 Mark II. But here's the problem I have with that. Where's the ND filters? And I wouldn't be surprised if it was on the feature list, but they took it out due to costs. I get it, it's got S-Cinetone, but so does the A7S III. I'd really love to see some ND filters here. And yes, you can go ahead and put them on there, but here's what I would prefer to see. The FX3 with internal ND filters, and then have the XLR adapter as an option. And I think that would be, I don't know, let me know what do you think? We also got a firmware update for the Sony A7S III, firmware 2.0, and as I mentioned about S-Cinetone, that was the biggest improvement to the A7S III along with various bug fixes. We also got the Rode video mic, no, not the Rode video mic, we also got the Rode Wireless Go version 2, and it's a really good upgrade. If you like working with wireless mics, this is a really good one. They double the range. You can essentially go to 660 feet or about 200 meters. It offers encryption, and if it loses connection to the receiver, it can record up to about 24 hours. So highly recommended. Take a look at that. So we've got a rumor of essentially Canon pivoting on the EOS M line, and we've had that for a few months now. But what's interesting is this strange child that looks like it was birthed between, imagine if the Osmo Mobile 3 and the M50 got together and had a child, it would look very much like this. I'm keenly interested. I think the Sony ZV-1 is a terrific camera. It's great for vlogging. It's great for ordinary filmmakers. And I think if Canon can take a similar approach to this, let's just say I'm pretty impressed. I'm pretty impressed with this. We also got word that the production issues that Canon's been facing for much of this year and part of last year should resolve themselves by the end of March. And then by the time we get back to summer, we should be going along with a normal release of lenses and camera bodies. So you won't have to wait months for a Canon EOS R5. But one thing I would keep in mind here is that there's already been a disruption to 2021. So a lot of the lenses and camera bodies rumored for 2021 might get pushed into 2022, at least some of them. Oh, I also shot a video in 8K. I shot an entire video in 8K, the studio piece and the outside piece. And what I wanted to see is, could I do it? How well did it work? How well was it to edit? How easy was it to shoot? And I was quite impressed with how easy it was. First of all, shooting was a breeze. I had an Angelbird 2 terabyte CF Express card, no issues there. Exposure was terrific. I shot some great scenes, and when I brought it inside, shooting was fine too. Then when I brought it into my computer, I decided to convert to Apple ProRes 422, and editing was a breeze. I didn't drop any frames. I had multiple effects, and on an iMac Pro, editing 8K, I just can't believe how easy it was. But the one outcome that surprised me more than all, this is completely surprising, the quality of 4K was so much better than if I was shooting with 4K HQ. I guess getting that huge 8K file with all that information, the way the algorithms work on YouTube, it just produces a more detailed image. Now, if you didn't have a really high detailed display to look at it, you might not notice the difference. So to really see the benefits of 8K and 4K HQ, you really need to have a modern display that's got a really good dynamic range, OLED and that kind of stuff. And one last thing. The firmware update for the R5 1.3, this was one of the most interesting things I heard this week. It's not surprising that it's getting delayed. It was supposed to be in testing earlier this month, and that hasn't happened. So the odds of getting it this month are pretty much shot at this point. We're most likely looking for a late March or early April. And according to what Canon rumors are saying, there's some events planned in April to introduce it. And so I would say I would look at a late March, early April release of the firmware update. But what really surprised me the most is that we might get some new codecs. And I automatically didn't assume. I automatically thought about Apple ProRes 422. What if what if Canon gives us the ability to record in ProRes 422? Anybody shooting long videos like this, what a huge savings to our workflow. All they have to do is remove that 30-minute time limit, and life is good. May not even need that external recorder. So a lot of really good news coming out this weekend. Also, I wanted one thing completely unrelated to my channel. A friend of mine, David Prasado, wrote his own operating system right from the ground up in machine language. He didn't borrow libraries from any other operating systems, and he just published it on GitHub. So I did that video earlier this week. Go ahead and take a look, and in the description it's got a link to GitHub. If you're into operating systems, that's a pretty big deal. All right, well, that pretty well ends it for this news. If you like staying informed, go ahead and click subscribe, and you'll get notifications of new videos as they come out. But now, let's go ahead and answer your questions. Have a question you would like me to answer on a next AMA video next week? Well, go ahead and post a question in the comment section down below, and I might just be answering your question next week. And now, for our first question. Stop the FOMO asks, what's your plan for evergreen content? You always hit me with the best questions. You know what? I don't have one. Can you believe it? I've got a vision, I've got goals and objectives, and I don't have an evergreen plan. And for anybody who's watching, wondering what does that mean by evergreen? Is it some sort of save the environment kind of plan? No, what it means is, what is my plan for producing content that doesn't get stale? For example, news and rumors, they have a shelf life of a couple of days, and then generally people don't watch them. But if I do reviews on cameras like the R5 or the 90D, people will continue to watch those for many years. So what is my plan for producing content like that? I really don't have one. My biggest issue, stop the FOMO, is I have a day job, I have a family, I have a 6-year-old, and I've only got so much time. News and rumor videos don't take much more than about an hour or two to put together at most. Whereas producing that other content, it takes a lot of thought and time and an effort. And my biggest challenge is trying to afford that time. So I need to think of evergreen content a bit more. Maybe I scale a little bit back on the news and rumors. But what do you think? What do you think I should have as an evergreen plan? Give me some high-level points. What could I approach? And I know doing reviews is one thing, and I'm trying to get more reviews to do. I'm trying to do more collabs. And I think experiences, tutorials, gear reviews, all that kind of stuff really resonates over time. But I'd like to hear your thoughts on what I could do to help build an evergreen plan, and I'll work on it. Let's collaborate together, and I'll come up with an evergreen plan, because you know what? Stop the FOMO. Once again, it's a very good question. It's very timely. I do need to have an evergreen plan. The Village Mayor asks, I've heard hashtags are not really effective on YouTube, but still allows you to add them in. What are your thoughts? Should I add hashtags for my videos? And how should I put it? I come from IG, so putting hashtags are the norm. You know, I don't use them. I don't really care. I probably should be using other social media sites too, but there's a certain amount of time I have in a day, and what I've decided to do, I think it's more important to have a really good thumbnail, a good title and description, and then to have all the keywords, because most of the traffic I get based on Google Analytics or YouTube Analytics is through Google searches, both in the Google browser or through YouTube itself. So I'm focusing on that. Haven't really worried about it too much. No one really talks to me about it too much, so I don't really think it's that big of a deal. But you know what? It's something worth looking into. And Mr. Mayor, why don't you go ahead and take a look and let me know if you notice a difference in your traffic after using hashtags. Raymond asks, how much of the growth of your channel do you think can be attributed to the Canon R5 giveaway? Well, I will lump all the giveaways into that, and that's a very good question. And I thought it was a huge amount of traffic, but when I looked at YouTube Analytics for last year, I was getting as many as 200-300 subscribers a day. And what I noticed, it seemed to coincide the most, is where I had the most amount of views and where I was talking about the R5. Now, I do believe that it's had a big impact. I believe that probably maybe 30%, this is just kind of a Class C estimate, about 30% is related to the contest. But at the same point, I get tired of saying the same things over and over again. So what I'm thinking of doing is I'm thinking of changing the intro. I've got some news coming up soon. I'm going to change my intro. I'm going to remove the R5 giveaway there. I'll have a little line in the description. And then, of course, at the end of the video, I'll talk about the giveaways. But I don't want to front load the R5 every time. I'm actually getting tired of it, and I'm sure some of you are too. And when I was thinking about it almost a year ago, I probably should have come up with a different sort of giveaway or a different way of getting traffic. But you know what? It has made a difference. And my thoughts are by the time I get to 100,000 subscribers, I'll be making enough income that it'll easily be able to cover the cost of that camera within about 2 months. Good question, though. Very good question. This is Joe asks, what is your motto if you have to choose? The man behind the gun or the gun behind the man? Gun as a gear of photography and the man as the skill you have. Well, first, I'd rather have skill, because with skill, you can make almost any tool sing. I was able to get great shots out of the Canon 70D for many, many years. And the more I wanted another camera, the more I realized the limitations of the camera, the more I started to improve my skill to get better results. And I think it goes back to another saying, would you rather have a fish or somebody teach you to fish? And, you know, I'd rather learn how to fish. But at the same point, you know, it's kind of like, I have to remove my gloves here, it's very much intermingled. The two do work very well together. And I think there's nothing wrong with having great gear, such as the Canon EOS R5, but you also want to make sure you learn the skill. I think one of the first lenses a person should get when they're getting their first camera is a prime, and shoot with a prime so they learn how to frame properly. But what I'm also learning how to do here is to shoot better in the outdoors. I'm learning how to use, well, I've learned how to use histograms. I'm learning how to use waveforms better and other forms of it to nail the exposure. So waveforms, vectorscopes, and all that sort of stuff. And what I'm finding is that my exposure's a whole lot better. Now, this is a big test. This is the first test I've done in probably about almost a year, where I've shot outside in the sunlight, especially with all the snow around me. This is an exposure nightmare. I wouldn't be surprised if at some points it looks pretty bad, but I did a quick test. I set the histogram first just to make sure my light was okay, but then I hit the waveforms, and wow, things were really out of whack. So what I did is I adjusted the ND filter. It's pretty much on max, but I'm shooting at an f2.8, which nicely separates me from the background. So I'm really hoping the exposure looks good. When I took it into post, it looked pretty good. I'm shooting with C-Log just to ensure that I get that extra information in the shadows and the highlights. So you're gonna have to let me know, how did that work? But that's all about simple things such as, you know, you can have a powerful tool, but if you don't have the skills to use it, you're gonna produce results that are worse than an entry-level camera, and it's gonna be that much more evident because the image is much more clear, much more detailed. So, you know, it's like a race car. I used to drive a Corvette, and I drove it quite well. Quite well. My mouth is freezing already. And I even took it to the track. But you put me inside a Formula One car, I'm not going to have the skill to drive that thing, and I'm probably going to stall it, because to keep that car on the tracks, you need to be going fast. You need to be doing like 200 kilometers an hour, even around turns. You've got to keep those tires warm. And to be able to take those turns at high speed, you need the speed to get the downforce to keep the car planted on the road. So skill, always is my first priority, but then tools are very important as well. We humans wouldn't be where we are today without our tools, would we? Rumor Has It asks, do you subscribe to any tools which claim to offer more in-depth information on YouTube analytics, and are they helpful? Well, yes, I do use a few tools. I think one of the best tools is vidIQ, and the second one is Keywords Anywhere. I'll talk about Keywords Anywhere first. No, actually I won't. Let me back up. First of all, the best tool you can get is actually YouTube Analytics. You get a ton of information there. You get to see how each video responds. But with all these tools, again, without the knowledge, it's not going to be effective. You have to have a very, very good thumbnail. You have to have a very good title and description as well. And you want to use things such as chapters, so you engage a person and bring them into your video. But then the other tool I was going to talk to you about first, the Keywords Anywhere tool, what this allows you to do is it helps you find the best tools, the best keywords, the keywords that are most popular. So if I'm looking on Canon firmware, I'll do a search and I'll see, oh wow, this one here will get 200,000 views a month. Right? So that's very, very handy. But what vidIQ does is it then looks at these terms, the title, the description, it looks all of it holistically and it says, okay, look, you know what? I'm going to give you a score of 20 here. And what it's saying is, at this score here, you're not really tying everything together. Things aren't really your title, your description, your tags. It's not pulling the viewer in. And if you get 40 and above, it's saying, okay, you know what? I don't know if this video is going to score really well or not, but if people are looking for this kind of information, your video is going to show up more often than not. And they have a free version. Now, I haven't used these tools, both of these tools, much in the last month because as your experience increases and you get more familiar with these tools, you kind of think in a certain way. You realize, okay, I know these kind of keywords are going to work best. I know this title and this description is going to work best. So the tools are very good when you're starting out, but as you get a little more experience, you don't use them all the time, and sometimes you just check in with them to see, okay, yeah, okay, check, that looks good. And if it's, oh, 30, oh yeah, I forgot to load the keywords, right? Because sometimes you will, I've done it. I forgot to load the keywords, I forgot to load a thumb, and I forgot to put in a title. That has all happened to me in the last 5 months. So those are two tools I highly recommend. Keywords Anywhere, vidIQ, and of course, the power that you get from YouTube Analytics is quite powerful as well. Cloud Strife asks, how do you figure out what you want to make your channel about? Should you stick to a niche or a variety channel? Well, the first thing you need to do is figure out what is it that you want to do, what interests you. I didn't do a lot of market research. I just thought, you know, I love cameras, I really enjoy it. I would like to have a hobby that helps me learn more, that improves my skill, my experience, because producing a video every day, you learn an awful lot. I've improved my skills on learning, on cinematography, on lens usage, on codecs, on C-Log, on, you know, and the list can go on and on and on. And I guess that was it for me. I really wanted to learn and improve and become better at what it is I did. And to also to get monetized so I could fund additional purchases so I could afford gear that I normally wouldn't. To be able to have a Manfrotto 504X tripod and head, aluminum tripod and the 504X head, along with the Canon EOS R5 and the RF 50mm f1.2, and an Angelbird 2 terabyte card, add the prices up for all that stuff. And you know what? There's no way I would be sitting here with this gear if it wasn't for you watching and this channel, that opportunity. So that being said, it's very important, once you have an idea of what you want, you need to have a vision, you need to have goals and objectives. You need to take that idea of, I want to improve my skills, I want to do a channel on camera gear. And camera gear is a little bit of a niche. And I'm doing things similar to others, but one thing I realized very soon on, after about 3 or 4 months, people started saying, oh yeah, go to Simon's channel if you want to know the latest rumors. I thought, but I'm not a rumor channel. But then I looked at my vision and go, well, okay, it's part of my vision to present news, filming techniques, gear reviews, content creation, that sort of stuff. Well, rumors are kind of new, so you know what, let's do a pivot. I'm going to keep my vision and my goals and my objectives. They haven't changed, but I'm going to start covering news and rumors. And I started doing that on May of last year. And that month, my YouTube earnings were 4 times what they were the previous month. And then they almost doubled the following month after that. And then what I noticed is I started getting people sending me gear for review, which was another revenue source, and it started to snowball. So it's important that you come across an idea that you really want to do, that'll be fun for you, that you think you can make money at if that's something you want to do. But then have a vision, define that vision and some goals, because what that'll do is as you start producing stuff, it'll keep you consistent. You don't want to be producing video on 8K video this week, and then next week I'm going to do a video on operating systems. Next week I'm going to do a video on car racing. It doesn't really work. Unless you're covering news, well then that's different, right? So do something you like. Have a vision, goals, and objectives. And if you go back to last year around December the 17th, I put a video out. It was, I'll put the thumbnail up here. It was about getting to your first 100 subs. And most of that video is all about what you need to do to properly set your channel up. Or the other option you have, because it's only $50, is I offer a consultation. So down in the description, there's a link to Verbling, and you can have a full hour conversation with me, and we can talk about strategizing how to set up your channel, what kind of topic you want to cover, whether you want to be niche or something a bit more global. Di asks, I have a question relating to the R5. I've been using the exposure meter all this time, and anything I want to picture or record video, to my understanding, this is not a good way to get correct exposure. Would you be able to show me how to use zebras or histograms to properly expose the image? Okay, well, I'm going to do a quick crash course here because really I should do this in another video. You're limited in what you're using. A lot of cameras, all they do is they give you histograms, and if you've got a histogram, then what you want to do is you want to line it up so essentially you're not bunched up at one end or the other. And if you are bunched up at one end or the other, you can do many things. You can change your ISO, you can change the setting of your ND filter, you can change your exposure, you can change all those things. But it's rather limited. Now, if I'm shooting at night and I've got some light on me, well, everything's going to be bunched down to the shadows. It doesn't mean I'm not exposed properly. So histograms are rather limited. What it's just showing you is the amount of light you're getting in a frame. Something like waveforms, if you set it to 70%, then what that allows you to see is where you start clipping. So for example, on my face, when I checked this before I pressed the record button, this side of my face was at 70%, and this side, well, didn't show any zebras. And that's how I knew. Because the zebras are on this side, I knew that this side was a little bit hot. The snow behind me was a little bit hot. Took it into post, looked at it, and it looked really good. And this is where monitors and external recorders come in. Because other tools such as false color, where it gives you basically, it's like a psychedelic look, and based on the color temperature, you can tell what your light level is, your IRE. Because when I see this side of my face is in zebras, all I know is it's hitting 70%, but it could be anywhere from 70% and above. I can't tell if I'm clipping or not. And that's where false colors really come in. And of course, the best kind of tools you can get is waveforms and vector scopes, because you can tell by looking at the waveform where the subject is, what their middle gray is. You have a lot more control. So these more advanced features, unfortunately, aren't in most cameras. Some, Blackmagic, some, Panasonic, have more of these, and others not so much. Now with my Canon R5, I'm limited to a histogram and waveforms, and it allows me to do two waveforms. So I can set one at 70 for the subject, and I can set another one at around 35 or 45, so I can monitor the shadows as well. So if you do have any more specific questions about any one of those, post it in the comment section down below, and I'll go into a bit more detail. But I don't want to spend a good hour here talking on this because everybody else is going to leave or fall asleep, and we don't want that, not on Saturday morning. Man-Friendly Church asks, have you ever thought, I can't be bothered to make a video today, and then what got you back to making videos? That's a really good question. Actually, for much of, I guess, November through to even now, I've been feeling like that quite a bit. And sometimes I say, you know what, I'm not doing it, and I'll go upstairs, I'll relax, I'll start watching TV, and then all of a sudden, as I start to relax and calm down, I think, you know, I am going to put out a video tonight. And you'll see my videos are all over the place in terms of time. I do a lot of news and rumors, and what I've noticed over the past 3 months is it's been pretty bad. I don't like to put out rumors on a Sony rumored lens. Oh, we got a rumor of the lens, it'll be coming out soon. And then next day they come out with the same rumor, only, oh, we think it's going to come out in April. Oh, and these are some images, artists in expectations of what it's going to look like. And you know, those minor updates, I don't want to do that. I want to cover other stuff. So what I've started doing is I've looked at other things that I can do. I started filming muskrats. I started filming 8K video. I started doing other types of content. And what I started asking myself is, well, okay, what do I want to do differently? What can I pivot to that's a bit more fun? But the other thing I started to look at too is when I'd see some of the income I was getting from some of these videos, like each day, for much of this month, I've been getting close to $30 a day. And I thought, okay, you know what? Slug it out. It's a good month. While the gift horse is giving you gifts, don't kick it in the mouth. Take those gifts, work at it, and you know what? At the end of the month, take a break if you want. But March looks to be a really good month. Let's go ahead and create some content and have a little bit of fun. And at the end of the day, once I put it out there, most of the times I feel pretty good. Unless, of course, it doesn't score very well, and then I get really down. But that 8K video that I did, wow, that was a lot of fun. It took most of a day, but I enjoyed the entire process, and it got way more views than I thought I did, or thought it would. And so that kind of helped inspire me to keep going further too. But, and I know where you live. You live in Scotland. You have a pretty rough winter. It's cloudy all the time. It's cold. It's damp. You get up and it's dark. You feel a little bit down like I do. Like today it's sunny, which is great. And I think I don't know, what is it for me sometimes? I think sometimes it's just having a chance to sit back and say, okay, you know what? I'm taking a nope day. What's a nope day, you ask? Nope, I'm not doing it. I have no problem doing that. Or sometimes I'll say, you know what? I don't care if it's timely news. I'm going to wait a little bit. Let's do it later today. No one's going to mind too much. And I put out a video on Thursday about the firmware update, and I saw that a notice came across while I was working. I thought, you know what? I'm busy. I got work. I don't feel like doing it right now. And then I shot it during my lunch break, and it took a little longer than I thought of. I could have probably rushed it, and I thought, no, you know what? Relax. Take it easy. You've got a lot of work to do. You've got a lot of things going on. Prioritize. Don't push yourself. And I think that's part of it too, is don't overly push yourself, and set yourself some realistic expectations. And look at your tools. Look at YouTube analytics to see which content is working, which is driving you more views, and engage with your audience a bit more, because I found that, like, the question you've given me and all these questions are from users engaging, and I'm constantly providing comments back and forth, and that also helps me too, because now I'm talking to real people, I'm engaging, and the conversations are pretty good. And when I don't respond, it's usually because I've got so much work, or I've got other things around the house I just can't get to it, or I'm filming. So it's another reason why I don't always get back to you guys right away. But yeah, or reach out to me, give me a shout, let's talk sometimes. You know, I'd love to talk to you about what you're working on, and it'd be nice to sort of say hello. But yeah, all my contact information is down below. You can reach out to me. But yeah, I hope that helps. Angus asks, or more or less states, third-party lenses versus first-party lenses. First of all, I apologize if there's any wind noise. There wasn't any wind when I started. Based on where the microphone is, I can't even see it. I'm hoping it isn't too bad. It might just be a little bit noisy, but I do apologize if it's noisy. Here's my thoughts on that. Because I'm primarily a video shooter, I just stick with OEM. I've tried Tamron, I've tried Sigma when I had my 70D, and I found that while they have great value, they're really cheap, their focus motors made a lot of noise, so they weren't very useful to me. And one, it was so loud that even the lavalier mic picked it up from a few feet away. And also, if there's a problem, I've got one neck to choke. It doesn't mean I don't want to see Samron, Sigma and Tamron lenses. I do, because it's really going to help drive the price down of RF lenses, and maybe they'll start to produce quieter focus motors. But that's the biggest problem I had. I went to a camera store, I think it was 2 years ago. They said, oh, you should try Tamron or Sigma. Okay, put it on, clunk. All right, no, this one makes too much noise. What about the other one? Okay, no, this is not good for video. As a photographer, yeah, knock yourself out. So what if they make noise? Unless, of course, you're a wedding or event shooter and, you know, those noises distract people. But to me, I think a quiet focus motor is very important. And from the lenses I've looked at, you know, it's a bit annoying. Now, I still do my research even for the RF lenses. I try to find out how loud they are before I purchase them. And this RF 50mm is actually a little bit more loud than the EF. And sometimes I think, like, did I waste my money buying this? Yes, it looks better. Yes, it's sharp, but I can't put a mic on top of the camera anymore and record audio. It's just too loud, and that's really disappointing, because last year when and I hear the birds now, I used to take the audio from the R5 and I drop it down about 8 dB, but the focus is so loud here I can't do that, because it does actually pick up the focus motor changing. So that's my personal opinion. I do prefer OEM. Again, it's a single neck to choke, but there are a lot of great opportunities with third-party lenses, not just Tamron and Sigma. You got Samyang and a whole bunch of other artisans and a few others coming out for the RF mount too. And actually, there are no Sigma and Tamron for Canon at this point, the R system, but you're seeing it from Samyang and others. So that's kind of strange, isn't it? Alex Fu asks, I'd like you to touch on the subject of cutting the cord with Adobe. Increasingly, I'm coming across more and more people who are sick and tired of paying for monthly license fees for Adobe editing software, including pros. My question is, how viable is it to take a free open source software option, say using Darktable or Capture One or even Lightroom? In other words, are these other softwares good enough? Oh, really good question. Yeah, this is brilliant. First of all, before I answer that question, I'm going to talk to you about some free commercial options, because I use open source, but sometimes they're not as intuitive and the updates don't come as frequently. DaVinci Resolve, it costs $300 for the full package, and $300 for a software that you get free updates for many years isn't that bad. And here's the great thing about that. They have a free version too. Now it's limited in what it can do, but for most ordinary filmmakers, that free version is really, really good. It works on Mac, it works on Linux, and it works on Windows, and it's robust. One of the biggest problems with Adobe, and now they've done some rewrites of it, so it's a lot faster, but for the longest time you were paying these high license fees, and it was slower than everything else out there on the market, which was really, really frustrating. Final Cut Pro for the Mac is also $300. Their light version is iMovie, and it's pretty good, but it's rather limited. I wouldn't want to... I looked at it, and one of the biggest limitations was I could only have like 2 tracks, whereas quite often I could have 3, 4, or even 5. So Final Cut Pro is what I ended up going with, because DaVinci Resolve at the time was only a colorist tool. It wasn't a full NLE. Now, some of these open source softwares, I don't know, I've never used them because I found that the paid options are pretty good, and the value I get out of them, I don't look at Adobe because no, Adobe's so expensive. I could easily buy a Canon R5 within a couple of years of paying for Adobe licenses. I just find, I've never found Adobe to be value-based. I've always found Adobe to produce good software, but to be very, very expensive. I used to use Photoshop, and now I don't. I actually use an open source version of that. And since I moved to the Mac, I've actually been using Pixelmator, which is like $40, and it gives me all the tools that I need. So my thoughts are, take a look at DaVinci Resolve, the free version, see if it gives you what you need, because you're going to get regular updates there. But the other pieces of software, the only thing you can really do is try them out to see if they have the capabilities you're looking for. You want colorist tools, you want color wheels, you want to be able to easily work with audio, you want to be able to provide filters, and all of that makes a difference too. And what I like about Final Cut is the number of plugins that you can get for it. But yes, I am tied to the Mac, and that's one of the limitations, whereas DaVinci Resolve, it's cross-platform, and it's a very good piece of software. And now for our last question. Robert asks, what do you think of the new Rode Wireless Go 2 microphone with internal recording? I don't like it. I had to come out and say that right away. I don't like wireless. I like wired. I'm using a Tascam. It's wired. It records directly into a unit here. I don't have to worry about all those, losing a connection or interruptions to a connection. And the Wireless Go has helped mitigate a lot of those risks by allowing you to record directly to the transmitter for up to 24 hours in case you have any issues. So I think they've helped mitigate those a lot. But, and sometimes I'm just a little bit conservative. Sometimes I'm very liberal when it comes to the camera gear. I'm always looking for the newest camera lenses, camera bodies. But when it comes to certain technologies such as, even look at DSLRs. Up until last year, I was shooting with a DSLR. And, it's very conservative, staying with the tried and true of the past and not jumping to the future. And when it comes to audio, I just like recording directly into a unit. I don't like wireless. I just want to minimize my potential issues. And as I buy more and more gear, there's so many different outcomes I have to consider that it becomes daunting, and sometimes I just forget certain things. So for me, I like wired, like the Tascam DR10L, but as far as microphones go, the Rode Wireless Go 2 is phenomenal. It really is good. You got 128-bit encryption. You can be up to just over 600 feet away from the receiver. That's 200 meters. I mean, that's a huge amount of distance. And if there's a break in the connection, it can record to the unit itself and then sync later. And that's really, really handy. It's a very, very good device. So if you've got the original one, then definitely go to this one. It's a huge upgrade. But keep in mind, I'm like you. I have my own biases. I have my own, what you'll call the things I like that I gravitate to just because I feel comfortable with them. I'm not with Final Cut Pro because I think it's the best editing software out there, but because it's the one I picked for good reasons at the time, and I just feel comfortable with it and I don't feel like switching. Same thing with the Tascam. I did a lot of research. I ended up with a Tascam. I was very, very happy with it. It's quite impressive, and so why try to find anything else if I'm not really getting a problem? So yeah, there's a little bit of bias on my part here. I get that, but the Rode Wireless Go 2, incredible upgrade. So if you've got the original one, go ahead and upgrade to this. And if you're considering wireless, this is one of the best ones out there. So I definitely take a look at that. All right, we've come to the end of another week. So let's quickly go behind the scenes, and I got a few things I want to talk to you about. Now, hopefully on Friday, I had a really good meeting. I got a meeting scheduled where I'm hopefully going to introduce some new capabilities to the site. How many of you complain that you don't always receive the notifications of videos, or you receive them really late? So when I publish videos on firmware updates that have just come out, you want to get those right away, right? Well, the good news is one of the capabilities of this platform is you can choose how you're notified, whether it's through cell or email, and you can control whether you want to be, and you can remove yourself easily if you want to. So as soon as a video is published, you'll get notified immediately. And what I'm also going to start to do with this platform is introduce gamification. So as you're participating, as you're commenting, you're actually earning points. And we're coming up with different ideas for points. Some of them are a one-on-one phone call with me for 15 minutes or 20 minutes, a one-on-one video call, or a group call where a few of us get together, like 10 of us, and we have a group Zoom call, and that's an option too. Could be more people. It's different things like that. I'm trying to make this more engaging and do it in a way that's easier for all of us, where you don't have to jump through hoops. And then maybe I can even leverage this platform for prizes. And also, I'm going to be using this platform for merch. And yes, Marty, the hat's coming. For goodness sake, it's coming, but you know what? I want to do it right. The 2 hats that I got before, I wasn't too happy with the quality. I'm just checking my time at 15 minutes. I wasn't happy with the quality at all. And you know what? I don't care if you guys are paying $15 or $50 for a hat. I want to make sure the quality is good. I'm not going to make a ton of money off these hats because I also want to give you a fair price for them. If I make $5 profit off one of these, that's good enough for me. But I want it to look good. I want you to get it and open it up and go like, wow, this looks nice. And sure, the Ordinary Filmmaker is my trademark, but you put that hat on, you also become the Ordinary Filmmaker, because that's what most of us are, right? Not all of us are professionals. We're just doing the best we can. This is a hobby for us, and it is for me. Look at how I've grown in the last year. So this new platform, hopefully, by the time this video comes out, I will have an announcement for you later Saturday or Sunday. And I'm going to be working with the Village Mayor this weekend. Now, the weather looks pretty bad. Now, right now, today, it's currently what? I can't see. It's locked. But I think it's supposed to be around -2 today, and the snow's melting. The snow actually is not light and fluffy. You don't see all those crystals like we did last week. It's hard, it's crusty, so I'm looking for it to melt. And over the next couple of days, it's going up to 5 to 7 degrees or 40 to 50 degrees Fahrenheit. And Sunday looks really good, but Saturday looks like, well, they don't know it's going to look. It could rain, it could snow, or it could be everything in between. So I'm trying to think of what we can do. I might change the awning here, put some plastic over top, so that way we don't get our gear wet, and maybe we can do some videos there. So that's what I got planned for the weekend. But again, a big thank you. I do appreciate you guys watching me time and time again. Sometimes I struggle with what I want to do with this channel and the content I want to produce. And you guys really do help. You give me a lot of great suggestions, and even the questions like from Stop the FOMO today talking about evergreen content. I need to think about that a little bit more. So I really do appreciate all of you commenting and participating with me. But now I've got to quickly wrap things up. I got about 6 minutes to take all the equipment inside, and I got to get back to work. So thanks so much for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. Please, if you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. And you might also win 2 Angelbird 128GB AV Pro MK2 V90 SD cards, along with a dual SD card reader. Or you could also win a Ulanzi LED light package with accent lights, an underwater light, or various flat panel lights that you can use for lighting your subject or for starting your own YouTube channel. I'll be awarding these 2 prize bundles to 2 lucky viewers once the channel reaches 30,000 subscribers. And they'll be awarding prize bundles every 10,000 or so subscribers until the channel reaches the huge milestone of 100,000, which one person thinks I'll do this year. I don't know about that. But when I do get to that milestone, I'll be awarding a brand new Canon EOS R5 full-frame mirrorless camera to 1 lucky viewer. And on that bombshell, thanks so much for watching The Ordinary Filmmaker. We'll see you again soon.